Okay, today we have to talk about a really, really important topic because, quite frankly, choosing the wrong coach not only costs you financially, although that's pretty painful, right? Not only does it cost you time, which is even more painful, it costs you effort. The most important cost, though, is the confidence that gets eroded in you because you're just not sure about your choices. You're not sure if you have the right way to evaluate a program or a coach. You have no idea. It paralyzes you and then prevents you from progressing. So today, I'm Geeta Nadkarni, by the way, founder of Impact with Influence. And today, I want to talk about how to choose the right coach that will get results for you. Let's do it. I know we're all coaches around here, but I have to ask, right? By the way, if you're watching this live, give me a big old hashtag live in the comments and answer this question. Do you believe coaching is necessary? You're a coach, and I know that the right answer, like the politic answer, is well, of course it's necessary. I'm a coach, therefore coaching is necessary because otherwise, what the hell am I even doing? But honestly, think about it. Ask yourself genuinely, do you believe that coaching is of genuine value? And put your comments in the comment section, please. Put your answers in the comment section. And another question that I have for you while you're doing that is, how do you choose your coaches? I think that's a really, really important question. That's, in fact, the entire topic of this live today. And we're going to do a deep dive. I'm going to share some of the ways that I choose my coaches. I'm going to share some of my experiences. And I even have a checklist. So if you want my checklist that I use to help myself, and I've used these questions over multiple years now because I've hired more than 25 coaches in my time. That may even be a low number. I'm talking about the bigger ticket ones that I've hired. These questions have been extremely beneficial, and I've used them in all kinds of areas of my life, not just business. I've used them for health. I've used them for emotional well-being coaches. I have used them for financial coaches. I have used them for therapist type coaches. Like, it really is a very simple checklist, and I've written it all out, and I'm happy to give it to you for free so that you can evaluate the next person that you're looking at working with. You can do a better job, a more systematized job, where you're not just kind of like going with whatever your gut tells you. Like, yes, you want to go with your gut, and I have a whole process even for the gut piece, because intuition is so important, and your body is the most important voice on this panel, if you will. And you absolutely want to listen to your body, but you want to make sure that your brain, it has its voice and it has a space to say what it needs to say, and that your body has its space to say what it needs to say as well. And that's when both those two pieces of yourself are singing in harmony, that's when you know you found the one. Hopefully this helps. All right, let's just dive in. So if you're live, give me a big old hashtag live. If you are watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. I love to see who my replay peeps are. I know some of you just really can't make this time work, and I love checking you out after the fact. So let's go in. If you want my checklist, put a comment checklist in the comments, and I'll have someone on my team reach out to you and DM you and get you that checklist. It's just in a Google Doc. It's nothing fancy. I just want to tell you this right now. It's super basic, but it will get the job done. That is a promise. Okay. So if you want my checklist for choosing the right coach, just comment checklist. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm going to share the story of my very first coach. And this is a really cool story. And I never thought about it this way until probably a few years ago. So when I was 10, I grew up in India. If you don't know this already about me, I grew up in India and I went to private English school in India. So English is my first language. And since we follow the British schooling system in India, we had a full 100-mark paper on English language, which meant grammar, essay writing, reading comprehension, all of that stuff. And I freaking hated it. Essay writing was my arch nemesis. I really hated essay writing. And so I went in, and then I just passed this paper by the skin of my teeth. Okay, it was really painful. And my father, who is a journalist and who has won awards for his English, I don't know if you know the stereotype about Indian parents, but like Indian parents are all about like if you got a 96 on 100, they're like, why did you lose 4 marks, right? That's the stereotype. And my father absolutely was that stereotype, super type A. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records as an athlete. He has a Teflon knee, so he's had his knee replaced, and he still played international level badminton as a veteran and won gold medals at an international level. And he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for being a disabled athlete who played against able bodied athletes and beat them, just to give you a sense of how type A he is. Okay, so my father was horrified, that's him right there, that anyone carrying his DNA would almost flunk English language, which was like his first love, right? So he was like, okay, no. So he and my mom got together and they put together this program where I was 10, my two younger sisters and I had to sit down and we each had our own scrapbook and we would cut images out of magazines and create fictitious characters. So like we'd stick them in the scrapbook and then write an essay about that character. Or when we went out on a family outing, we would come home and then we would write a report on that outing. We would write book reviews of our favorite bedtime stories. And my dad would sit on the weekends and we had to write 3 essays a week or we couldn't go out to play. And it didn't matter how much I whined, it didn't matter how much I complained. Indian parents do not care about their standing in the polls at all, right? They're like, you do it or you do it, the end. That is it. Those are your options. So I would sit down and I hated it. And I was like, oh God, I hate this. Why do I have to do this? Why do my parents have to be so hardcore? But I did it. He pushed me through my resistance to it. He found ways to make it interesting for me. And then he would sit and patiently correct it. And he'd be like, hey, here's how you use a metaphor. I'm the queen of metaphors now. That's because I got a really early start. Thanks, Dad. Right? He would be like, here's how you set it up so that your essay goes full circle. Your introduction then ties up beautifully with the conclusion. Here are the 3 different parts. Here's how you use a simile. Here are all these different things. And so he taught me all of these cool techniques, these writing techniques, when I was 10 years old. So I was really lucky to have a coach very, very early on in my journey. And, maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, that's good for you, Geeta. Well, what about me? Damn it. I just got my first coach last year and I'm 40. And that's okay. Because let's face it, right? It's like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. I was lucky. That's just the hand I was dealt. I was very, very blessed to have a dad who was super determined and is a coach, absolutely is a coach at his core. And so he coached me through my resistance. And literally in that one summer, 3 months, I realized that this thing that I resisted and thought I hated was actually my gift. It was the thing I was terrified of. It was the thing that called to me, but also scared me because what if I did it and I failed, right? And then he gave me the craft to meet that fear. He gave me the bridge to cross so that I could feel the fear, but still have enough technique that I could get to the other side. And that is why I am so passionate about coaching, because it literally changed the trajectory of my life. Okay, I'd love to hear your comments. Let me see if I can see comments here in the chat. Amazing. Yes, 100%. Coaching is so important. The way I choose my coaches, I have to have a gut feeling that they know what they're talking about and that I can relate to them. I also need proof that they can get the results for other people with similar challenges that I have. Love that. Amazing. See, there it is. So here's what I'm saying. So that was my very first coach. Now let's talk about the most important thing. And that's exactly what I don't see your name, whoever's comment I just read out. So whoever you are, I agree with you. And in fact, my next point is a repetition of what you just said. So let's talk about alignment, right? Alignment is super, super important. And what I mean by alignment, and I have a whole bunch of questions to evaluate alignment. So if you're checking out a coach, if you're checking out a program, if you're getting on a call with somebody, this is a great checklist to have where you could literally look at it and be like, yep, this person ticks the box. Nope, this person does not tick the box. It's very I've really broken it down. It's super simple. It's Megan. Okay, hi, Megan. Awesome. So can they demonstrate that they know my pain? Right? If you're a coach, nobody wants to learn how to get rich from the trust fund, baby. Right? So if your coach cannot demonstrate that they really viscerally understand your pain, they may not be the right person for you. Right? If you're a busy mom and you have 4 kids and you're learning some process from a guy who's in his 20s and has no children, isn't married, doesn't have any real responsibilities, Okay, nothing against guys in their 20s. You have your responsibilities, but it's different when you're a mom of four. It is really, really different. You have to really, in that, it's not that you can't get coaching from someone like that. I have done, but you have to be extra intentional about evaluating and really asking questions about, is this time frame, is the time commitment going to work for me? Can I actually energetically make it work for me long term? Or is this one freaking endless sprint that's never going to end? Right? So make sure that they have lived experience in your struggles so that they're not just teaching from some freaking handbook that looks good on paper but then doesn't stand up to the tests of real life. You want somebody who has been through it, who has developed a process that is battle tested, that can stand up to the rigors of working in the field. That's what I look for, and that's how I like to coach. Can they demonstrate a nuanced, layered understanding of the challenges that you face? Right? That's something. So not just like what I'm not doing. So a really good question to ask is like, or a really good sort of evaluation to do. So you're not asking this question point blank. I just want to be clear about that. You're basically having a conversation with them, and then you're evaluating, do they have a sense of not only what am I not doing, but like maybe what's my obstacle to not doing it? That's what we do in our program. Because I'm super interested when somebody's like struggling with something. I'm super interested to know, so you've been in this other program or these three other programs, and you were given this advice and you couldn't do it. Why couldn't you do it? There's no judgment about you not doing it. I just want to understand, what was the story? What were the obstacles? What were the specifics of what was going on there that held you back from doing it, either trying it or doing it consistently? What broke down? Because that view into the way somebody's mind is wired, that view into the way that somebody thinks or what their subconscious fear is that's holding them back, that's what's going to, like, it's dealing with that piece that's going to change something, not just giving them yet another freaking thing to do, yet another process that they're like, oh god, okay, I gotta go do like 3 lives a week now, freaking A, okay, but I can't even do one, right? That's not useful. So one of our clients, I was talking about this, and somebody on the team reminded me that one of our clients had shared why she chose us. So one of our clients, Jamie, shared that when she was looking for a coach, and she had been looking for a while, she was looking for somebody who was real, was congruent. So we're both moms, we both have 2 kids, somebody who would be able to tell you based on real lived experience and shared her values. So that's another important thing too, right? If your values are all about service and relationships and whatnot, and you see somebody and all they post about is Lambos and private jets, that may not be for you. If you're into Lambos and private jets, you may not want to work with somebody who has a majorly nonprofit mentality, unless philanthropy is something you care about. So it goes both ways. There's no judgment either way. You need to be honest with yourself. Take a good hard look in the mirror, and that's something we're going to get to. You have to take a good hard look in the mirror and really get crystal clear on what you want for yourself. And I just, you've got Jamie's Jamie, we took a screenshot of what she posted in our private group, and it's really about she's able to get these results when we give her instructions. First, because there's much less cognitive dissonance, right? There's much less dissonance. She's not hearing me say something and then sitting with the resistance of, oh, I don't want to do it. And like it's it's lucky for Geeta, she has XYZ skill that I don't have, or she doesn't have XYZ obstacle that I do have. Typically what we have, and this is something that you want to look for, is a program or a coach that teaches in frameworks. So this is why we teach in frameworks, because your framework is basically, here are the parameters of what we're trying to create. Here's the logic of how the process works. Now that you understand the logic, you can break the rules appropriately, right? So we have a lot of different clients who have a lot of different businesses that look nothing like each other's on the surface of things, but they're all running them on the same framework that we've taught them, right? And that's because you need somebody who really understands their own process to help you when it's time to break the rules. Does this make sense? Tell me if this makes sense at all. Hopefully that was, yeah, Kate's like, your dad was hardcore. It's true. Tell me if this makes sense, right? Because if somebody is teaching from someone else's playbook, this is the problem I see often, right? When you're teaching from someone else's playbook, you're still like not really comfortable with the process. You haven't broken the process down and rebuilt it several times where you're like, okay, I know which pieces absolutely cannot move, and I know which pieces are flexible. And so you want to work with somebody who has this nuanced understanding because they've been in the game for some period of time and they've had to go through the rigors of using their own process. Processes break. Real life happens. You have a plan, and then it meets real life, real people, real obstacles, and it all just goes to shit. That's normal. We want that because what happens next is really what determines somebody's success. And that's their success first. And then that success becomes transmissible to you if they're willing to stay in the game despite those setbacks and those obstacles. And then they can kind of pass that on. And then they can help you break the rules that they've created. So they'll set the rules, but then they'll be like, okay, you don't need to worry about this part in your situation. It's flexible for you because, and then they can explain it in a way that you can understand, and then you can feel confident moving forward. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's talk about number 3, demonstrable success. So this talks a little bit about what I was just referring to. Your person that you're evaluating, this coach that you want to work with, have they gotten to where you want to go? Right? So I'll give you a good example of how I evaluate things. So one of my coaches, Dan Sullivan, he's 77 years old, right? He runs a $35 million business and he has 100 people working for him. And he takes a month off every quarter. Do the math. That's 4 months off a year, right? He's able to be in the game long enough. He doesn't need to retire because he has mini retirements once a quarter. And that is how he grows himself. Because if he's not growing himself, his business stalls. So I knew that I wanted to learn from him because I love the idea of the long game. I love the idea of longevity in the game. I want to grow up to be 77 years old, still writing 4 books a year. I still want to be coming up with new concepts. I still want to be really fired up for the work, right? So I choose to learn from him, even though he's a man, he does not have children, he's 77. Like, in that sense, on the surface of things, we have nothing in common. But deep down, our values really match, right? And I've looked at coaches who are young and they make a lot of money, they make it really fast, but they also work 70, 80, 90 hours a week. I will never do that. I work 4 days a week and that's it. I have great work-life balance and I would rather have more time than more money. If I absolutely had to choose. And typically you don't, right? And if you learn from the right people, you don't have to choose. But if I had chosen to learn from the guy who was like, okay, fast, let's just make the money. Let's just figure this out. Let's just do whatever it takes. Then what would happen, knowing myself, the way that I'm wired, my central nervous system is wired, is I'd have initial success and then I would crash and burn. And that would erode my confidence and that would give both of us really disappointing results. Does that make sense? It might almost hurt more than if it hadn't worked at all. So you want to be really, really clear about do they actually have demonstrable success and do their values or their way of working align with yours? So hopefully that makes sense. All right. Do they show and not tell? This is such a huge value for me. Do they show and not tell? So what I mean by this is a lot like if a coach has to tell you, I'm an amazing coach, that's like, okay, prove it, right? That's the next thing that comes to my mind. I'm like, great, show me how you're an amazing coach. Rule 101 of storytelling is show, don't tell. You shouldn't have to tell me that somebody is funny, right? You should be able to show me with dialogue, show me with actions that person is funny. That's what good writing is. I believe that all messaging, all materials that you put out there, the way that you are in the world should be the same. Are you telling people about your values or are you demonstrating with your actions what your values are? If those two things don't match, I always believe the actions. Does that make sense? So I'll give you an example from our coaching practice, right? We had a client. One of the ways that we show and we don't tell is clients. We have 2 group coaching calls every week. I work directly. You have direct access to me. I'm the one coaching people. My team is there as well. So we're all coaching, we're sort of surrounding the client. It's a group situation. So you ask the question, I figured out what is the universal in your theme, right? And then I'm able to talk directly to you, answer your questions specifically to you. Like literally messaging will just come through me. And that's why we record the calls because I don't often remember things because I'm totally in flow. But because I've identified the universal of that person's struggle, and everybody else on the call benefits as well. And one of the core pieces of how to do this, and I've done a whole other live on this topic, is how to ask life-changing coaching questions. By the way, if you haven't watched that yet, go watch it. Make an appointment with yourself on your calendar and go watch it, because it has really already changed a lot of coaches' games, and it's free. Okay. So anyway, so we did one of those things, and one of the most important things is you listen for what the person's actually asking, which is often not at all what the question is. I'll give you an example. I'm showing you, not telling you, right? I'm not telling you that I do all these things. I'm going to show you. So we had a client talk to us, and he's like, I'm super overwhelmed. I'm burning out. I'm working 50, 60 hours. I have kids. I'm not seeing them enough. My wife tells me that there's all of this stuff going on. He's burning out. You can see it. Like, he's exhausted. He's depleted. And he says, I really need to hire a VA. What should I do? Like, how should I hire a VA? And I'm like, our program is like to do our program homework and like to watch the videos that you need to watch, and then to submit the assignment you need to do for feedback, and then to get the feedback and work on it. That takes 2 to 3 hours per day, 5 days a week. It's very, very manageable. So I'm like, what the hell are you doing for those 50 or 60 hours? Like, where is this time going? And so I'm asking, and as he's explaining, I'm like, there's a lot of really empty, busy work happening here. That's interesting. And then as I ask deeper questions, here's what comes out. What comes out is that his mother, that he had lost recently, was known for her busyness. This was a defining characteristic of her mother. And it was, in fact, the way that the two connected. They would connect over their sort of mutual busyness. It was the way that they bonded, even, right? And so there was a lot of unprocessed grief. There was mourning that had yet to happen around the passing of the mother. And one of the ways that this person was holding on to his mother was through the act of busyness. And when I asked, like, could this be the case? Because I'm not God, I don't know all the answers, but my job is to ask questions that might lead to illumination. So I asked, like, could it be that there's this connection here? And there was this like breakdown, like tears, sobs. There was a release that happened. That is the power of fixing the right problem. Because imagine what would have happened if I had just reacted to the question that was being asked. Imagine if I'd been like, oh yeah, here are the steps to hire a VA. This person, first of all, would not have been able to delegate effectively, because the actual subconscious goal was not to release the work. The actual subconscious goal was to hold on to the work as a way of bonding with the mother that was no longer there. Does that make sense? So we have to be really, really careful about what problem we solve. And what ended up happening is we got rid of a lot of the busyness. The VA, yes, he did get a VA eventually, but that was not the thing that changed everything, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's showing and not telling. I'm able to, in a story, I'm able to demonstrate how the process works. So you have to be able to hear in the material that you're consuming or in the conversation that you're having with the person, how does the process actually work? Can you understand how the process works? You may not understand the deeper mechanics of it, but you can see enough of it to be like, I want to be a part of this process. I want this done to me. I want to be in process with this coach or with this program. Does that make sense? So that's a really important question to ask yourself. All right. So next piece, do they have a process, right? So I think that's number 4. No, number 5. Number 5, do they have a process, right? So I'll tell you what I mean by this. A lot of the clients that we work with come from, they're recovering therapists, they're recovering, one-on-one coaches. They've only ever done one-on-one coaching, and they don't typically have a systematized program of any kind. They've been doing one-on-one sessions. It's like the client books a weekly session or bi-weekly session, whatever it is, and they sell packages sometimes, and that's how they roll. The problem with that is that it tends to be reactionary, right? It's like you react to whatever the client brings you any given week. And that feels customized, and it feels like it should be a benefit on the surface of things. But the problem with it is that you run that risk of answering the question that the client brings you, because there's no parameter to your work, right? So you're just solving whatever the client picked a problem and put it on the table. And now what tends to happen in these one-on-one sessions is you feel the pressure to solve that problem, because that's the problem in front of you and that's the problem on the table. Because you don't have some kind of continuous process, you don't have continuity, a continuum in your program, you're not evaluating whether this problem is an appropriate problem to have or solve at this stage of the game. So what tends to happen is you have what I call reactionary coaching, which doesn't end up having the bestest results. It might get some results, I'm not saying no, but will you get the kind of results you really could get if you had more of a system or a process? Probably not. Okay, that's my honest truth from having worked with lots of people as a client and having experienced this process where I can tell when somebody really has a process and I can tell when somebody's just totally winging it or just reacting to whatever I'm bringing. And that doesn't usually work the best. Now, another thing is, do they have a program? So that's more about the process. Actually, another thing I'm going to add about the process is when you have a process that is more systematized. I'm going to now, everybody, how many of you here, tell me in the comments if this resonates for you. A lot of the times the objection that I hear from clients who are working with us is, but you don't understand, Geeta, every single one of my clients is totally different from each other. I'm like, sure, I get that. Maybe that's true, maybe that isn't. Maybe that's because you haven't dialed in your client. Maybe you've just been taking on clients willy-nilly because you want to get some clients. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're gathering data. That's great. Once you have the data, though, you have to take action on the data for you to evolve. Otherwise, you're just stuck repeating the same process over and over, right? Now, let's assume that there is something that they all have in common. Even if they didn't, there's something that they do have in common, and that's you. You attracted them. You have some kind of process you're going to pull all of them through. I pinky promise you, I freaking guarantee you that there is going to be some portion of what you do that is exactly the same with each of your clients. It's not to say that the answers they give you will be different, but the questions that you ask them will be the same. Does that make sense? So yes, there's plenty of room for their individuality to come into the process. However, what I'm going to tell you is that you have a process. And if you could, like, think about it, now you're spending all of your energy onboarding clients exactly the same way over and over and over with each new client. What if you were to take all those onboarding pieces and put them in a video, in a checklist, in an audio, and like whatever the right tool for that is, and we teach you how to do this in the program. Like, now all of the energy you were spending doing that boring onboarding process that is the same, therefore it's not evolving, it doesn't keep you excited, it doesn't keep you interested, it allows, now it kind of bores you. That's the part that's going to burn you out, people. Because burnout feels like no matter how much I do, I never do enough. That's what burnout feels like, right? If you've ever been burnt out, you know this is true. But what burnout actually is I do not do enough of the things I love. I do not do enough of the things that light me up. And it's when you don't have systems supporting your process, you will burn out because you're not going to be doing enough of the things that you love. And so your business will not nourish you. This is what happens when high achievers will get bored. They'll get antsy. They'll bounce from thing to thing to thing. Tell me if any of this sounds familiar to you, right? They will not be able to sustain interest in their work. Their energy flags. They become inconsistent with how they show up. That's what happens. And then they start to self-sabotage also because they're like, well, I don't know if I'm fully committed to this business, so I don't want to attract more clients. And that affects their actions. And so then the number of clients dwindles, their desperation level goes up, and they end up spending more time doing things they have to do rather than things they want to do, which further compounds the burnout. That's how that cycle works. So I'm a huge believer in having process and processizing everything that can be processized so that 100% of your energy is available for the parts that are pure magic. Because yes, there is parts of your process that have to be open, that have to be completely customized to each individual. And you want to have all your energy available for those pieces. Okay, moving on. Do they have a program? So one of the things that we have at Impact with Influence is we have an entire team, right? So when I say program, I'll explain what I mean by that, right? Because it means different things to different people. When I mean program, I mean we have a process. It means that it is delivered in a specific time frame. It is delivered a specific way. And it is delivered by a team. So it's not just me that you're going to be working with. You're going to be working with an entire team of people. So I'm everybody's coach. I work directly with everybody in our program. In addition to me, everybody gets a one-on-one copy coach who's going to give you detailed line by line feedback on all of the messaging work that you submit. When you submit your course curriculum, right? There's that course element of things. When you're building your own curriculum for your program, you're going to submit it to us in a Google Doc, and we're going to go over it piece by piece and be like, this part is this feels too crowded. I don't think that your clients are going to burn out in this week. Let's break it up. Or you've I call it stuffing your brow. Like, you've put everything in the kitchen sink into this because you want to go premium now. So you're thinking, I need to put more stuff in my program. That's what everybody does. So our job is to help them distill it, make it simpler, make it easier, so that clients can go deeper and therefore get better results. For example, so your copy coach is going to give you very, very detailed feedback, and they follow you throughout the program. So they're like your family doctor within our program. And then in addition to that, we have our mindset coaches. We have one mindset coach who is both our mindset coaches are certified hypnotherapists, but one is a high performance, like his specialty is human performance and high performance in particular. That's his jam. And so we match him with clients where that's going to be like a real ignition for their own abilities. And then our other coach has a much like, he's a very deeply spiritual person. So some people vibe more that way, and they want to go into the soul level work, and they want to go into like energy and emotions more and things like that. So we pair people with him. So I don't have any of these skill sets. I really just don't. I have a different skill set. I'm very intuitive. I can pull people's story out of them, even if their story is hidden from them. That's my skill set. And now what ends up happening is we can create results that are far bigger than anything that I could accomplish by myself. So I would be doing you a disservice if I just worked with you one-on-one. I would be giving you fewer, less profound results. So you have to also like really understand when you're choosing, like, do you want a one-on-one coach? So everybody sometimes, like, I've seen this a lot, not everybody, but a lot of people think one-on-one is better. One-on-one is automatically more superior. Why? It's more customized and you're getting their full attention and all this jazz. Maybe. That's a big maybe. I explained to you, without a process, with the reactionary coaching, that isn't necessarily a benefit. Even if they have a process, having a team supporting you, if it's the right team, obviously. So maybe a question you can ask is, how do people choose their team? On our team, the mindset coaches are my coaches, so I'm their client, right? To this day, I still have sessions. Like, this is my evolving work, and I believe in it enough to have it myself. That's why I hired them, because I wanted to pass that on. I don't see anything that's as effective. And then all of our copy coaches are former clients. They have been through the program, they have paid full price, they're running their own thing, and they know the full journey, not just the copy piece, but they know the emotional journey of everything that the copy pieces bring out. So they're able to coach the human, not just the process. So in our case, having a team is 10 million times better than just working with just one person, any one person on our team. So look at those pieces and see what resonates for you. And then the last piece I wanted to, and this, I wanted to share a testimonial from Michelle, who joined us as a client. She's now become a really close friend. I'm going to be seeing her very soon. She actually went from being a client to being on our team. She now runs a very, very successful company and doesn't have time to be on our team, so she's doing that. But look at what she says. She made her first 15,000. When she came to us, she was charging 1,500 for like this long ass program, and people were on payment plans, and she just wasn't able to progress. She was working all the hours. She was absolutely burning out. And she was like, I am so good at what I do. Why the hell am I struggling so much? And she had a lot of deep emotional stuff and mindset stuff that we had to get through. And it's David's magic that worked on that, right? Like, we did hypnotherapy with her. We got her down to like, what is the story that's actually creating all this busy work? Why is she letting people treat her this way? Why is she encouraging people to treat her this way by giving them payment plans and pricing options that don't reflect the value of her work? Next thing you know, she's making $15,000 sales. So she's having $30,000 days. That's the power of a team. Just saying, because I could not do that. I could not do that by myself. All right, final piece. How much do testimonials matter? So Megan was saying, I want to hear from people who have testimonials with clients that I resonate with. I think that's a really good idea. Now, if you're sitting there and you're a newer coach and you're like, oh God, testimonials, I don't have any, or I've definitely helped change people's lives, but I don't have anything recorded about it. Listen, Are testimonials necessary? Not necessarily. I have a whole other video about what do you do when you don't have testimonials and you're just starting out. I have a whole other video on that, so I'm not going to get into that here. Here, I'm going to talk about you evaluating the coach, right? And you going through their testimonials, etc. So one of the things we teach people in our program is how to structure their testimonies, their client testimonials, so that the journey is revealed in the testimonial. Because otherwise, how freaking useless is a testimonial? Then it's more telling and not showing, right? For someone to say, oh my God, I love Geeta. Her energy is amazing. She's so deep. She's fantastic. You should totally work with her. How does that help you? How can you possibly evaluate whether your standards are anywhere like this person's, right? You can't possibly know. Do you agree? Are you looking for the same thing? It's like impossible for you to evaluate. That's a useless testimonial. I like testimonials, and yes, our testimonials are long. Go to YouTube and watch our testimonial videos. They're often half an hour. They're uncut. They're not censored, like they're not censored, but they're not edited. So you can like hear all the stories. I often prompt clients to be like, okay, and then tell them about the part where everything went to shit, because it always does, by the way. In our process, things always go through like it's a hero's journey type situation where you fall off a cliff and you're like, no. And you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. This is not going to work. I'm fucked. Oh God. And then we fix it. And that is so much. That is what excites me about the work, actually. That's what always keeps the work super interesting. And those are the pieces that we tell. And when you tell those stories, then your people can find you, right? And so look for somebody whose clients are able to tell you, describe the journey. Look for that and see if the journey resonates with you, because that's important. No matter how shiny they look, no matter how much money they've made, no matter how much love they've found, or if they found the perfect partner or gotten out of chronic pain or all this other crap, that's going to be so, so, so powerful, right? If you can get excited about the journey that you're going to be on, because the finish line, anytime you get near it, you're going to move it anyway, right? Any revenue goal you set for yourself, you're going to hit it and you're going to blow right past it. I've seen so many of our clients do that. But if you're excited about the journey, now we're cooking with gas. Okay. So yeah, so there you go. I just wanted to, let's see, I think I've covered everything. Yeah. So if you want my checklist, Amethyst, sorry. So we did have this client share. I wanted to talk about testimonials, right? And the power of the journey. So we worked with somebody who was, again, had all these issues around charging what her program was worth. And she was about to go and really overcomplicate it. And we see this all the time. Higher achievers, and I'm one of you, we love to overcomplicate things. And so in her case, we really had her do some deeper trauma work. We actually had her work on the trauma specifically so that she could release it and create the spaciousness for the kind of results that you see on her screen. So she was going to do like some silly $2,000 program or something. I can't remember what she was going to do, what her original plan was. And then she ended up making a $12,500 sale. That's right, people. 12 grand. She didn't have a name for her program yet. She literally was like, oh, shoot, what do I put on the invoice? I don't even know what the name is. And the client didn't care, because when you're that clear, people will pay you money to work with you because you're ready to receive them and take them on this journey. And that excites me, and I hope it excites you. So if you want my checklist for questions you should be evaluating your coach on, so it's not these are, again, not necessarily questions you're going to be asking them. These are questions you're going to keep on the back of your mind, almost like a scorecard as you consume their material. Maybe you have conversations with them or their team. These are the things that you want to keep in mind. And there's a whole checklist of 8 questions about questions you need to ask yourself to evaluate how ready and willing you are to receive help. Especially if you're going to drop 10, 20 grand on a program, you need to make sure that you're in the right place so that it is in fact the right time for you to break through. So if you want that checklist, just add checklist in the comments. And that way someone on my team can reach out and just send you, it's a Google Doc, it's nothing fancy. You can just make a copy for yourself and then you can use it forever after. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next Thursday.